Tails and Scales, The Empty Throne, Chapter 25, Battle of Neon Woods. Traveling deeper into the forest, Silvus travels with Leon, Eco, and a band of 10 knights and other guardsmen searching for Nidus and his squad in order to save him as fast as they can. Gwenny, Osea, Fee, and the other remaining knights stay behind at the fort in order to keep an eye on the sentinel in case something happens behind their backs. Silvus turns his gaze to Leon to check on him. Leon looks anxious, gripping his sword and shield tightly, worried about his brother's safety. "Hey man, are you okay?" Eco asks, walking beside Leon to his left.
"I don't know, bruh. We must be heading to some kind of... Of course I'm not okay! My little brother's in danger out there!"
Leon shouts at Eco's obvious question, making the former and some of the guards and knights flinch. Silvus knows that Eco did not mean to offend. Probably he wanted to brighten the mood before heading to the grand battle, where they might not see another day. Suddenly, Silvus hears sounds of blades clashing and battle cries, signaling his claws for his companions to stop. Using his hidden ears, Silvus tracks the noise eastward.
"That noise! Nidus!"
Leon sprints past Silvus, who in turn tries to grab his tail to stop him from being suicidal. Shaking his head side to side, Silvus runs after Leon, while the others follow suit. Running up to a cliff, the group, including Leon, stop by the edge to see a battle going on between the Fenheim Raptor army and the Avalonia Raptor army. The Fenheim Raptors are easily identifiable by their bodies being covered almost completely by feathers except for their faces, due to coming from a cold environment. Also, their soldiers wear horned helmets in comparison to the Avalonian feathered helmets. Silvus scans around the battlefield to see at least 20 Fenheim compared to the outnumbered 10 Avalonians. Or at least there were 15, looking at the 5 corpses of the Avalonians fallen in battle. Thank the spirits that none of them were Nidus. Silvus looks to his right to see Leon looking around in panic, hoping to find his brother still fighting. Back at the battlefield, Silvus spots one high-ranking guardsman wielding a halberd like a poleaxe, taking out 2 Fenheim Raptors with 2 swings. One of the Fenheim soldiers kicks the guardsman from behind, knocking off his helmet to reveal a familiar younger red raptor, but with a darker green mane. Looking up to see the same Fenheim brute running at him with dual-wielding axes, shouting, "Krihala!" The young officer quickly picks up his weapon and jabs it right at the brute's chest like a spear, and throws him off. He gets back on his feet to see his fellow Avalonian guardsman get axed in the face by a more armored Fenheim soldier wearing a helmet with huge horns. The large brute turns his gaze toward the red guardsman. The red guardsman prepares himself as the heavy brute begins to charge. "Look, it's Nidus!" Leon shouts, pointing at the young red raptor almost resembling him, who is engaging in battle with the larger enemy. "We gotta help them, now!" Leon is right. Silvus knows if the battle keeps up, the royal soldiers, Avalonia soldiers, will get wiped out. He looks around to see a slope they can run down to in order to launch a surprise ambush. "Every raptor on me! Spirits wills it!" Silvus draws his sword, leading his troops down the slope. Joining the fight, Silvus and his group begin their battle cries, gaining the attention of both the Fenheim soldiers and the other guardsmen. The royal guardsmen, led by Nidus, begin to cheer, waving their weapons at the sight of reinforcements, boasting their morale. Caught off guard, the Fenheim soldiers find themselves overpowered by the unexpected reinforcements. While Silvus uses his sword to fight off the Fenheims, he spots Leon rushing to Nidus' aid. Turns out Nidus re-engaged back into battle with the large Fenheim brute. Nidus tries to deflect the attacks, but the blows by the Fenheim prove to be so powerful that he disarms the former and kicks his chest, pushing him on the ground. The Fenheim is about to make the finishing blow, only to be stabbed from behind by Leon, saving Nidus' life.
The skirmisher is down! Retreat, my brothers!
One of the remaining Fenheim raptors shriek, witnessing the death of the large brute. The Fenheim raptors rush up north, in retreat, giving the Avalonians the battle. The latter all cheer with victory croaks and raise their weapons up high. Silvus looks around the remainder of the royal army to see Leon helping up Nidus and embraces him in a hug, telling him how worried he was in tears. With a heart-melting smile, Silvus walks up to the brothers and greets them. Nidus turns around, gasping at the sight of him. Silvus! Nidus stammers and looks to Leon, who smiles in response. It's great to see you again too, Nidus. Silvus replies, regaining Nidus' attention. Dude, I do not know what to say other than thank you, guys, both for saving me. Nidus grabs Silvus' claw and shakes it. I honestly did not expect any reinforcements at all. What do you mean by that? Silvus asks him, looking serious. Well, the Sentinel told me that this mission was supposed to be a secret, with only a few guardsmen. Both Silvus and Leon exchange confused looks when Nidus mentions that his mission is supposed to be a secret. That does not make sense. Why would the head of the royal army make such a shady move? Yo guys, look at this! The voice of Eiko calls their attention. Eiko is searching around the corpse of the leading Fenheim to take out what looks like a rolled up parchment. He walks up to 3 and shows it to Silvus, who in turn takes it. Silvus opens the parchment to see a royal seal above on the left claw corner and reads, To Alpha King Ragnar Lokir of Fenheim. 2 of my soldiers are starting to ask too many questions about the way I operate. So without further ado, I need your aid to take out the leading conspirators one by one per day. I am sending the first target in this position. He is a young soldier, so you should not have any trouble. After you deal with them both, I will pay you all handsomely with at least 10,000 golden feathers, as long as you all keep this operation a secret. Sincerely, Sentinel Judar Burnick of Apollonia. The note that Silvus reads turns out to be some kind of contract to have the brothers killed. He gives it to the 2 brothers for them to read for themselves. Reading the parchment, Leon's expression begins to turn sour, realizing that the Sentinel is trying to get both him and Nidus killed for asking too many questions. Nidus asks Leon how it is possible. The Sentinel knew of their concerns. Leon responds to Nidus that the Sentinel probably overheard them, believing the others could be in danger. Silvus gets every raptor's attention. If this is true, we better head back to Fort Gallagher. Our friends could be in danger. With that, the entire squad, guardsmen and knights, follow Silvus to head back to the fort. The Sentinel himself has a lot to answer for. Silvus and the gang are greeted by a large crowd of guardsmen back at the fort, looking nervous. One of them runs up to Silvus, telling him, Are you Silvus, my lord? Silvus nods. Gwenny is in critical condition. Gwenny is what? Silvus hears Eiko step up when the guard mentioned the knight captain. The guard only tells him that they had better come with them to the infirmary where Gwenny is being held. In the infirmary are rows of beds with wounded guards. They are being tended by healers who are all females due to their stronger use of healing mist. Osea, who is helping them, spots Silvus and his group, looking relieved. Osea runs up to latch Silvus into a quick hug, telling him that she is glad he came back safe. Where's Gwenny? Silvus asks without hesitation. Osea turns around, pointing to the end of the room, looking uneasy.
She is over there resting. Thank the spirits. I saw her in time and healed her wound, but she's still barely conscious.
Osea leads Silvus, Eco, Leon, and Nidus all the way to the end, where Gwenny is moaning on the bed, putting one of her claws on her stomach like a cramp, with Fee sitting on a stool next to her, keeping an eye out. Fee looks up with a gasp and rushes to Eco, jumping into his arms. Silvus, followed by Leon to his right, walks up next to Gwenny to check on her. Gwenny looks to the side, with her claw still on her stomach. Yet she managed to put a forced smile at the sight of a familiar friendly face.
Succeeded in the rogue mission?
She asks with a groan, wincing in pain from her stomach, tightening her grasp. What happened? Silvus softly demands, while Eco joins to his left. After further groaning, Gwenny speaks, struggling with her pain.
While you... While you guys were gone, I was investigating what happened to the missing knights. I intended to sneak back into the Sentinel's office to search for clues. The door was wide open, and I caught the Sentinel practicing blood mist.
By the spirits, this is worse than I thought, Leon comments out loud. That is why he wanted to do nothing, Nidus guesses, looking stern. And what did that guy do to you, Cap? Eco butts in. I bet he's with the necromancers, Silvus thinks to himself, still listening to Gwenny's story.
As a Knight of the Mist, it is my duty to bring those misuse their mist powers, especially Darkcasters, to justice. So I drew my mithril sword, telling him that he is under arrest, but the old fart fought back and managed to do a number on my gut. Instead of finishing me off, he jumped through a window like a coward. When he heard footsteps coming, it turned out to be Osea, who immediately healed my wound and called for nearby healers. Then I fainted and woke up here.
She coughs. To Silvus, Gwenny is very lucky Osea was around. A stabbing strike at the gut would have killed her in a matter of seconds unless treated quickly by healing mist. Suddenly, a guardsman bursts through the door in panic. Silvus turns his head to see the guard running up to him, standing up straight with a salute.
My lords, there is an army heading this way!
What army? Explain, soldier! Leon steps up, sounding like Key back at Shima.
I think it's best I show you, Warden,
the guard recommends and leads the group out. Silvus and gang are led by the guard all the way up to the ledge of the front gates, filled with other guardsmen with bows and arrows drawn. In Silvus's view, he sees a swarm of unknown rebels wearing a mix of black and purple armor, raising familiar flags with purple skulls, marching through the neon forest. Some are riding on carnitors as mounts. They must be the necromancers. They look too organized to be simple rebels or bandits. Leading the entire group is the traitor Sentinel himself, wearing the matching black-purple armor with a sinister look on his face. Whatever they are planning, Silvus can only guess that they might be plotting to wipe out the royal army. They must have been plotting it for a long time to muster such a force. Sensing tension in the air, he looks around at the guardsmen, who are looking intimidated. Silvus needs to think fast, or he will lose the army who can help him. Silvus looks around to see a ballista on both corners of the fortress, getting an idea. He looks to Leon, who is snarling at the invaders, and tells him, "How many are we exactly?" Leon turns his attention to Silvus and answers, "At least 49,994. The last time I looked at the records, we were at least 50,000 here, being a gigantic fortress with an underground cavern. Why?" Silvus tells Leon to gather the troops in the main courtyard, so they can meet in order to deal with the invaders that marches further. Silvus stands in front of the statue of Galagar, delivering a speech to a crowd of royal guardsmen, hoping to rally them to follow with the knights standing behind him. igniting his fanboy instincts. He exaggerates the tales of the bravery of Magnus's soldiers, whom defeated Necros, as well as Gallagher's stand against the Fenheims. One of the guardsmen steps up with his arms crossed, looking unamused.
Even if it's true, boy, the better question is, why should we follow ya?
Silvus makes a frustrating groan, needing a better way to convince the royal army to follow him. He hoped not to reveal his heritage, to not get attention. He has no choice. Like what he did at the Sentinel's office, he draws his sword, making it glow, earning gasps from the army, gaining their full attention.
That's sold!
One guard shrieks.
The sold of Ultimar!
Another blurts out. Silvus lowers his arm, still grasping the sword, telling them,
My real name is Ultimar Silvus, the lost son of Alpha King Ultimar Sulthur. I will not lie, I have been through a lot. I fought an army underground. I faced insects. I faced giant insects. I fought a horde of rebels, and I even fought a dark caster. If I could do all that, you guys can too. You are the royal army of Avalonia, the bravest warriors of all the 3 raptor kingdoms of Cretaceous.
The royal army gives approving nods to each other, agreeing with what Silvus is saying. Nidus looked to his brother, asking if what he's saying is true. Silvus is not done yet.
Hey, I might know much about leading a huge army, but I do know that if we stand around and do nothing, not only we will be dead, but all our families are going to suffer. So I ask you all again, are you with me?
Silvus raises his sword high and proud. Leon steps up, telling them,
Raptors of the Royal Army, as testimony, I can confirm that my old friend here is a great fighter and leader. We fought together. He led us head on to save my brother and your fellow country raptors from a horde of savages. So what do y'all say? Will we give him a chance?
Among the crowd of soldiers, Nidus is the first to step forward and kneel before Silvus, with his halberd drawn on the ground.
If my brother trusts him, then I shall too.
Soon, other guardsmen, including the other wardens, follow suit, vowing to give Silvus a chance to deal with the invaders. As the invading army gets closer, Silvus finds himself in the war room, wearing a unique black armor set with glowing white runes and a silver leather cape. After his speech, he is requested by Leon and Nidus to the armory in order to give him a unique set of armor worn by many Alpha Kings in the past. As royalty leading the army, it will be symbolic for Silvus to wear it. Gathered around a large stone round table in the middle, using a sheet of paper, Silvus is drawing a strategy plan to best deal with the invaders, not only to all the wardens, but also his companions who want to help the best they can, except for Gwenny, who is not in her best condition to fight. So she appointed Ego in her stead as acting captain. When asked how he knows the plan will work by an unnamed warden, Silvus tells him that he is using a tactic once used by the hero Sentinel Gallagher himself in a book he read, earning a facepalm by Ego. For the tactic to work, as it did according to the old story, Silvus will be in the front line, fighting alongside Ego, Nidus, and Leon, whom Silvus nominated as the new Sentinel, as well as the various Knights in the Mist, who are ready to fight alongside the Royal Guardsmen. Osea, who is wearing female-style light royal armor with her cloak, will be in charge of leading a group of healers to collect any wounded allies who need help. Fee, alongside a captain, will be leading a group of archers. Learning of tamed Tyrannorexes, Silvus thinks they could be useful for a counter-ambush. The plan is called Trap and Attack. Outside, Silvus is seen wearing his helmet, covering his face with silver feathers on top, leading the royal army to the gates. Open up, he commands, making the doors open to reveal an army of invaders in view, through the large trees. The royal army forms their positions in front of the fort's entrance in a long rectangle, with Silvus, the knights, Ego, Nidus and Leon on the front lines. Fee and another archer captain gather as much archers as they could above the main gates, getting ready to support their allies below. "I would never have imagined myself fight alongside you, old friend," Leon whispers through his helmet, with a smile to Silvus at his right. "Same here. It is like old times when we were little," Nidus stands proudly to Silvus's left. "Of all the things we have been through, cousin, this is going to be the best time of my life as a knight," Ego comments, earning a chuckle from Silvus. "Tritus is going to be jealous about this," Silvus mentally jokes to himself, making a quick thought about his best friend's reaction. He shakes his head to refocus on the battle at Claw. As both sides wait for the first moves, tension fills the air. The invading troops draw their weapons as the ex-sentinel blows his horn, signaling his troops to begin the first charge. With cries of battle, the invading army ran like a stampede of Brontos, shaking the ground, while the Carnotaur riders follow suit. This is the moment of truth. This is Silvus's chance to start acting like an Alpha King in the midst of battle. He could feel the tension swelling up in his chest as the troops in the front line draw their sword and shields, at the same time watching the enemy running towards them. With a deep breath, he looks up behind him and shouts, "Archers!" One captain, who leads the archers on one side, and Fee, who leads the other, commands their groups to draw their arrows, at the same time preparing ballistas to be aimed at the Carnotaur riders. With the invaders halfway to the royal ground forces, the captain makes the first signal with his claw, unleashing a swarm of arrows, striking down the invading forces by the right, while the ballistas shoot down the enemy Carnotaurs with ginormous javelins. Fee follows suit on the left, weakening the invaders, yet they still charge. "Tyrannos!" Silvus shouts, causing hidden doors to open up. From the hidden doors, the Dino Masters in charge release at least 10 armored Tyrannorexes to sprint past the royal ground troops, making their way to the enemy. They use their massive teeth to chop down any enemy raptor, squishing them with their massive feet or swatting them off with their large tails. Many even take down nearby enemy Carnotaur riders. Some Tyrannos sadly are killed by nearby pikemen and surviving Carnotaur riders. With the enemy weakened, Silvus draws his sword, commanding his troops to follow. Leon draws his sword and shield. Ego takes out his bow and arrow, and Nidus draws his halberd. With the army at the ready, Silvus takes a deep breath and shouts, "As the spirits wills it! Will it! For Avalonia!" Silvus leads the charge. The knights and the royal army all roar in high spirits as they run towards the struggling invaders, either becoming Tyrannochow or taken out by more arrow and ballista fire. With their associated weapons, the royal forces and the knights clash, making sounds of metal clashing with each other. The sword of Ultimar proves to be a very powerful fighting tool for Silvus, as he takes out each invader like butter, while dodging attacks at the same time. He sees an invader about to attack Ego, so he thrusts his claw to shoot a lightning bolt, saving his cousin, who is using his bow and arrow like a pro. Then he sees Leon fighting together with his brother Nidus, taking out invaders like a team. Silvus scans around the battlefield through the hordes of his own soldiers doing well to see the main target. The ex-sentinel is taking out a few royal soldiers like it is nothing with a puff from his nose. Silvus raises his sword to make the charge. The ex-sentinel takes out one more royal soldier by the chest with his sword before he spots Silvus making a leap attack towards him. Engaged in battle, Silvus clashes his sword with the ex-sentinels with fierce faces. The ex-sentinel makes a few offensive swings, while Silvus uses the parrying technique to deflect each one. Even for an old raptor, the ex-sentinel proves himself to be a unique fighter. Probably that is how he managed to become a sentinel in the first place. As the battle goes on around them,
Osea leads a team of healers protected by a few soldiers rushing out of the fort toward a pile of bodies away from the fighting, in search of any royal soldier or knight still alive. While the healers begin to drag out a first wave of wounded soldiers, Osea gets up, scanning around the battlefield in front of her, worried for Silvus, who is currently engaged in fighting. The ex-sentinel begins to show fatigue as each strike is deflected by his opponent, who shows none. He tries one more swing, only for Silvus to use his sword to cut off his claw to disarm him. The ex-sentinel cries out in pain, looking around to see his forces getting creamed by the royal forces and the knights in the mist. He even sees many of his troops beginning to retreat like a bunch of cowards, while enemy healers are seen helping their wounded. "Give up, Bernick, you lost," Silvus demands, shouting the ex-sentinel's real name, which he learned from a note. The ex-sentinel only gets angry and uses his wound to form a blood spear, allowing him to get up. "You should have been killed by the Fenheim Raptors," he shouts before making a reckless yet desperate charge, only for Silvus to sidestep and stab him from behind, killing the old ex-sentinel. Silvus stands in place, taking deep breaths. He takes off his helmet and looks around the forest, turned battlefield, to see that his troops have won the battle. Among them, he sees his cousin looking giddy, as well as Leon, who is carrying Nidus, catching breaths. Not that he is hurt, but tired of fighting. Silvus turns his head to the right to see Osea being followed by healers looking relieved. Fee too runs with her team of archers with a face as if she just came from the most amazing party of her life. Silvus looks around at the lifeless body of the ex-sentinel. He kneels down and uses his claw to flip the body around and gently closes his eyes. Even though he is a dark mistcaster, he is still another of the misguided. "May the spirits rest your soul," Silvus mutters to show respect to his opponent. Silvus lifts himself up with the sword of Ultimar in claw. He thrusts his sword high in the sky, making his allies chant, "All hail, Ultimar Silvus! All hail, the true Alpha King!" Silvus cannot help but feel a sense of hope and excitement that dwells inside his chest, as he just lived like a hero, like Magnus, defeating many odds. This battle in history will forever be known as the Battle of Neon Woods. The tides are beginning to turn. End of chapter 25. Be sure to leave a comment, a like, and subscribe. Thank you, and stay tuned for chapter 26. Ciao!